Today on Hobbies, Crafts, and Collectibles, we're breaking into a new area. We're going to welcome Mike Durbin of Sullivan, Illinois to our studio today. He's going to teach us the art of custom pool cues. Coming up on Hobbies, Crafts, and Collectibles. It is such a privilege today to welcome Mike Durbin from Sullivan, Illinois to our studio. Mike, thank you so much for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
Mike is a world-class pool cue maker, and that's not how you started. He's actually a 7th generation farmer from Sullivan, but somewhere in the mid-90s you got the bug to start making pool cues. Tell us about that.
I actually picked up the sport of playing pool in college. I went to school at SIU, and there's a hotbed of pool, and you either got good or you quit. And I had a guy that do a repair on my cue, and he messed it up, and I thought I could do that good, so I started doing repairs myself. And I have some training from high school on metalworking, woodworking, that sort of stuff. And I decided I was going to try and make one day, and it's just blossomed from that.
It certainly has blossomed from there for sure. Now, I have so much to show you, so I just want to get started right away. Why don't you walk us through a little bit, what makes up a pool cue?
What makes up a pool cue? What we will talk about is basically what they call in the industry a 3-piece butt design. Okay, if you grab the one on the end, this is what we call a Merry Widow design, which basically means it has no inlay work. Okay, they all start out, no matter what the wood here is, with a 5/8 maple core that runs all the way through, which you can see here. Okay. That actually goes through that piece of wood. This adds stability, it adds consistency of play from one cue to the next so that they all play the same. This one happens to be Purple Heart. Okay. The handle underneath, which you can see in the one that's next to it there, is hard maple also. Okay. As you can tell, it's been recessed here 22 thousandths at the final pass.
I see.
And then the clear coat is applied and we're polished out, and then we will trim this out, and then the wrap will go in this area so that it comes out flush.
I see.
Then the bottom, the third part of the butt, is the butt sleeve. And this can either be attached to the tenon like it is to the handle here, or it can be slid over. These happen to be doweled over and everything glued to it. So that's the basic construction of any cue that I build. And then we step that up to the next step, which would be a 4-point veneered cue. The points are put in before the handle goes on.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
This has been machined out with a milling machine. That's only job in the whole shop is to cut these V-grooves. Okay, and then as we build the veneers up, which is what these are here, we'll glue them up into a pack.
These would be sample. You can buy these in different colors.
Those are all poplar veneers.
Okay.
And they've all been dyed to different colors. And I will glue them up and we'll press them between steel plates so that they're dead perfect.
I see.
Okay, and then we'll rip them up into slabs the way we want to and machine out the way we want. But after we cut the V-groove in the point, we'll have a point piece that matches it. It fits right in there.
All right.
Everything is glued together with marine grade epoxy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if it's good enough to build a boat that's made to go underwater, it's good enough to handle this. The strength and also it determines the playability. If you want a cue that plays a little softer, use some of your polyurethane wood glues.
Well, that's the beautiful.
Because the glue is softer.
That's the beautiful thing about this. All these are custom made, and you have customers lining up for your work, I know. It's become more than just a hobby on your part. This is actually a bona fide business, and you have some pretty big names that have...
This is kind of a hobby that's kind of got out of control. I have some of the best players in the Midwest that use my product. Some of them, like Mark Wilson from the St. Louis area, who is one of the world's best instructors, and my personal coach. James Barracks, who's a Rookie of the Year in 05. There's a couple guys in Oklahoma City, Joy Gray, Chip Compton. They're just setting the world on fire. They're winning about everything they can get in. And these are upper level world-class events that they're winning. And the list goes on. And a lot of collectors. One of my good friends that's a huge collector is Will Prout from Kansas City area. This is the type of clientele that we work with.
That's great.
Money is not an issue for a lot of these people, and they really collect top quality work.
Well, and that's just it too, that you use top quality materials in what you do. There are no cutting corners with these pool cues. And I wish you could see some of these up close and just feel them. They're beautiful. Let's look at some of the inlay work that Mike has done here. It's just
that's what I would call high-end cues, which would be this cue like here.
Yeah, look at
this is my personal playing cue.
Oh, okay.
Everything that you see here, it's black, is ebony. Everything that's white is elephant ivory. Now, it is all pre-ban elephant ivory. It's legal. It's not cheap, but it's very available in the States. Anything that was in the country before the ban is fair game.
Gotcha.
Okay. All the inlay work is done by hand on a manual pantograph. This pantograph was brand new in probably 1940 that I used. The cutters that we use are down to 10,000ths of an inch in diameter. Okay, all the diamonds and everything, dots, are all cut out with that.
That's amazing to me. Now, tell us, how do you make an inlay? Like, for instance, here's one where you kind of spun off of, you were able to pick this cross up at a store.
Yes.
But then you make this, you make a template using
I glued
this.
that down to that piece of wood, and I'll mount it on my table.
Okay.
And then I'll cut a part off of that at a 2-to-1 reduction.
Okay.
Okay, and then we will glue that part down to another piece of plastic or Lexan or something like that we'll use. Then I will make an epoxy cast of that piece.
Okay.
And when we take that apart, that gives us a female pocket to cut the hole in the cue that's identical to the part.
I see.
You can sometimes have as much time in the template as you do in the rest of the cue. And I do have people that want one-of-a-kind inlays. And when we're done with that cue, we take their template and we saw it up on the bandsaw.
And look at all the variety of materials that you use. Some of these are just so pretty. Tell me what some of these are.
Some of these are, we can go here, the white slab underneath and some of this stuff here, that is actual ivory, okay?
Okay.
Wow. We come in to, like this propeller here is actually green abalone shell, which is what this big sheet is.
Okay.
We have Korean awabi shell, black-lip mother of pearl. We actually use precious metals such as sterling silver.
So you'd start out with a slab of it, like this is
We start out with a slab like that, and then we will glue it down to a piece of wood, and we'll put a piece of construction paper or something underneath it so we can tell when we cut through, the different color comes through.
I see.
Okay, because we want to cut all the way through the inlay so it is symmetrical either direction. And this is some sterling that we've cut the pieces out. And you'll notice there's very little waste. We'll actually go back here and we may cut some silver dots and stuff out of these little areas so that there is no waste.
I see.
And then we recycle that silver when we're done. We catch all the little pieces and we turn it back in to reclaim it.
Well, speaking of sterling, I've got to show this piece. This is the creme de la creme here. This is, again, antler, actually.
It is actually elkhorn.
Elkhorn,
and it is bored out, and then we core it over a maple handle.
Okay.
The forearm is a eucalyptus, curly eucalyptus wood.
Okay. So right
The black is ebony.
All right.
Okay, then we get the elkhorn, and all the mitered boxes and stuff are the ebony and the eucalyptus.
And
then,
all of these little pieces here are sterling, right?
yes,
Then
and
you've
everything
got-
that shines at you is silver.
Yeah. Wow.
And
So this is beautiful. It's a piece of artwork. It
really is.
And now you are actually able to customize these. I know that you've got one going here. It's a little bit shorter than normal because
this one here.
Which one is it? Oh, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So
This one goes to D-Strack, Monticello, Illinois.
Gotcha.
She's a former VNEA Women's Seniors National Champion. This is her 50th wedding anniversary present.
And she knows about it.
And she knows about it, so it's not a big deal because we custom fit everything. They actually brought the wood to me. This curly eucalyptus that's in the butt sleeve and in the points.
Right here, yeah.
And it's got an actual elephant ear wrap on it. But Dee is about 5 foot tall. And so a normal length cue doesn't fit her very well. So this cue is actually 2 inches shorter than standard to fit her frame better.
And what's the standard weight of a pool cue?
It's anywhere from 18 to 21 ounces.
I see.
And the better players tend to like a little lighter cue. You can do more functionally with the cue ball than you can with the heavier cue. But a heavier cue will naturally fall through straighter. So a weaker player would get along better with a heavier cue because the stroke would go straighter on its own.
I see. Okay.
And but what else we can talk about is another concept is called conversions.
Okay.
Okay, this is a Willie Hoppy Titleist house cue that was made by Brunswick back in the 40s and 50s. There's big desire from collectors to have these. This forearm and stuff here was made in the 40s and the 50s. We find these old house cues, and we cut them up, and we convert them into a new modern plain pool cue.
Oh, okay.
And,
Wow.
so the old house cues that you see beat up laying around and have little veneers in them, don't throw them away.
Don't throw them away.
Yeah,
'cause you
there's
can...
possibility they could be something very good. I mean, just the house cue itself beat up, I'll give a couple $100 a piece for them.
Wow.
Just to have the point structure.
Gotcha.
And so that
People
we
are taking
can.
notes out there right
Yeah, I'm sure they are. They're going through the old trash bins now.
now. So that's really, really amazing. Now, you've told us about a few of the different types of wood. I was
Right.
really interested in showing this, you called it impregnated wood?
This is an impregnated, yes. It is
Explain that.
basically wood that is not structurally sound.
Okay.
This is actually a piece of spalted maple, which is a nice way of saying almost rotten. So there's a company that I buy this from, Pennsylvania, that pressure impregnates it with acrylic resin. This is about 60% plastic now because all the holes and stuff in it that is filled with the resin.
Okay.
They can also add dyes to it
Oh,
to
sure. Look
make
at
different
that.
colors. And so basically it's what they call, another way of saying stabilized wood.
And then it becomes really, really hard.
Really
after
hard.
that. I mean,
It's almost, when you work it almost comes off like chalk. It's very, and when we work these cues, we're kind of between a woodworker and a machinist.
Okay.
The woodworker says, how can you cut a piece of wood to within 1/1000th of an inch? The machinist wonders why you would want to. Okay.
Sure.
So basically all this stuff is machined down to within 1/1000th of an inch.
Wow.
And but some of the other woods that we got, of course, this is a North American wood, a bird's eye maple. I threw a little stain on it just to bring the eyes out.
Yeah.
Okay, now any wood can be bird's eyed. This is a disease that the maple tree gets
I didn't
that
know
creates the
that.
eyes. So it's not really the best quality wood, but it's very pretty.
It's very
Thus, why we core it.
I learned so much on
stabilize
this
it.
show.
Okay.
I love that. What are some of these
All right,
other?
some
what's
of
the
the
start?
others. This is what probably my favorite wood of all, ebony.
Ebony.
And
Pretty.
you can never go wrong with a black-white combination. So
Sure.
ebony and ivory, you're always in style.
Yes.
Plus it plays as good as anything out there.
Really.
It really has a nice resonant tone. The woods we select and the way we put it together is a lot like instrument makers. If the tones aren't right, the cue's probably not going to be right. You can't just throw two pieces of wood because it looks good together. You got to think it through on the tone qualities and how structurally sound that it is. Here is another piece. The ebony it comes from Africa.
Oh, okay.
This is a babinga.
Babinga.
Comes from the tropical regions of Central and South America.
What a pretty wood. It's kind of almost a rosewood.
Yes,
Look
they
to
use
it.
a lot of that in instrument making too.
Okay.
Here's a piece of lace wood. It's another
Oh, look at the
tropical wood.
pattern on this.
It has a different pattern to it. Some people like it, some people don't. It's just a matter of your taste.
Sure.
Most of these dark woods are from tropical regions of Mexico, Central America, South America. This is what they call a chichin. When it's finished, it has an almost 3D iridescence to it. So you can actually see the depth into the wood.
I see that because I almost expected to feel the grain to it. It looks so deep, but it's very smooth.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that effect.
Yes. And then one of my favorite woods, and one of the most expensive, this is Ambonia burl.
Say that again?
Ambonia burl. It comes from Malaysia. They sell it by the pound.
Okay.
Let's just say, so it's very expensive.
Very expensive.
That's about a $150 piece of wood in your hand.
Wow.
And
Because I would have said
people-
this was a burl walnut, but
Right.
it has burl.
That is it. And I don't
it.
stain anything other than occasional maple just to bring the grain out.
Sure.
So if it's this color, that's the natural color of the wood.
Wow.
And you get all the eyes and the figure and stuff that occurs naturally.
Gotcha.
And it's very, very sought after.
This is
in this
beautiful,
industry.
yeah. And so
And
you
it-
have to special order that from overseas then?
Actually, I had a hard time getting it, and I talked to one of my other cue maker buddies out of a little supply of it, and now I'm in the process trying to find some to replace it.
Gotcha.
And here's another one. This is a Bacote. It's a Very similar to Coca-Cola and stuff like that. Comes out of Central and South America.
Now, do these different woods here affect the playability of the cue, or is it more of the decorative element?
More of a
Some these
decorative
exotic
element to a point. The wood on the outside of the core does have some playability to it,
Okay.
but the core down through it helps minimize that. It makes this one play more like this one and this one and this,
Sure.
just for consistency. And it also aids in the warpage factor, because this wood is all breathing and alive. Even though it's cut off the tree, and a lot of this wood has been cut off the tree for many years. Like this ebony's been in my shop for at least 2 years before I ever touch it. It still breathes. Moisture comes in and out,
Sure.
and it will move. And maple shabs are the same way. Okay.
Okay.
But as far as you want to talk about the finishing of the cue?
Yes, please. That would be
The
perfect.
clear coat on the cue is actually a 2-part urethane that you would use to clear coat a car.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We put a base coat of epoxy, just 5-minute epoxy, as thin as you can possibly get, just smear it on with your fingers while it's spinning in the lathe, and then we straighten out any lines that we got, and then within 15 minutes, the first coat of clear goes on it.
Okay.
After about 10 coats of clear, water sanding it between each pass, or between each coat, you polish it out and you get that nice, like, wet look finish.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that the critics will really look at, is if you got any ripples in your finish. They will not accept any ripples in your finish. The other thing they look for is the length of your points. These points have to be very even. If you get 1 or 2 it's off, they don't like it.
Now,
But-
there's some machinery involved in this, but this is all hand custom work. There's no computers involved
Right.
cutting out pieces.
Right.
That's what I love about it. It's just really is truly a work of art. Now, once you get that finished, the last thing you're gonna do is wrap, right?
Last thing we'll do is wrap.
So
And
let's
we can
talk
do
about some
two
wrapping
different. We can do two
materials.
different styles. Some cues prefer to be wrapless, like this $high $1 cue here.
Yeah,
That
I was gonna say
peop-
this
some
one.
some people don't want to wrap. They want it to just be
see.
cleared over.
I
Now
see.
that can be a nice piece of wood.
Sure.
It can be an extra area for artwork. It doesn't have to be, but it can be.
Sure.
Okay. One of the other options is Irish linen, which is spun on with and glued in place. It's
Yeah.
pinned at each end, and we press it and polish it out to where we
And you're gonna get this kind of look.
get
then.
that type of look. It feels like one piece of silk when you're done.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
The
Oh, look
other
at- Yeah,
option-
it's very smooth. You would never. It doesn't even feel like it's individual strands.
Right.
Very cool.
The other option would be a leather of
Okay.
some sort. Now you can go with
again-
some of these fake
of
leathers. These are actually cowhides, and they've been stamped to have a different look.
Okay, I see.
Then we get into some of these others. This
That
is
looks like snakeskin
Yeah, this
there.
is actually a kangaroo skin.
This is kangaroo.
And then you have what we is elephant ear.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a ringtail lizard. Okay, and this comes off the belly of the lizard.
Oh wow! Here,
Okay,
let's hold that up. so
and
we
then
see.
and then I can
at
dye
that.
that any color that I choose. You take some leather dyes and you dye it from the back side,
I
and
see.
then it comes out and it settles in on the scales and it won't bleed through the scales. So
Interesting.
but you can make any color that you want.
Sure. And so that
it's-
this would be an example of a. Was this elephant ear?
That's a kangaroo skin.
Oh, this is a kangaroo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So smooth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the third cue in actually has the elephant on it, and you
Okay.
can tell it has just a little bit rougher texture to it.
Yes.
But some people like that.
Right.
Okay.
A little bit of grip.
Now, after you play with this for a year's time,
Mm-hmm.
your hands oils will get in and massage that leather, and it won't feel nothing like it does when it's new.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It also will hide the seam because the way the leather's put on, it's wrapped around, and the other pieces overlaps, and then we double cut the seam with a razor blade. We're using a piece of angle iron as a guide,
I see.
and so the seam is nice and straight, and then we peel the pieces out and fit it all back in.
Wow.
It's that right there, people look for the seam. If its seam is showing, they don't like it.
Wow.
So
So you play pool too? I mean,
I do
obviously,
play.
I think how many pool tables did you say you have?
I have 4 tables. I have in my shop at my advanced training center that I have. We do a lot of clinics and stuff like that with top world-class players and instructors that come in. I have 2 4.5 by 9 foot Brunswick Gold Crown 5s, which are professional tables. They're tight, they're fast. It's you don't hit it right, it don't go in. I have a 3-cushion billiard table that they played the '86 World Championships on in Vegas, and it's just another type of game to play. It's very good. It helps you with all your pool and angles and stuff. And now I also have a 3.5x7 coin-operated table like you would see at the local tavern and other pool rooms around that is not even set up in the shop, but I take it around for exhibitions. If some professional comes down, needs a table, and there's not one available there, we'll go set it up for the advertisement value.
I understand. And, now, you're a self-proclaimed bachelor, so your whole place is your man cave, right?
Yes, pretty much.
So you can get away with 4 pool tables.
That's right.
I love it. Well, Mike, it's beautiful. This is definitely more than just a hobby. It's an artwork, and we're just so privileged to have you come and bring all of this to show us and explain the process. And I am never going to look at a pool cue the same way again.
I hope not. That's the whole point.
We'll just look forward to seeing more about your work and seeing some of those cues in some famous people's hands on the Sport Network, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Check it out. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
On this week's Show and Tell, our topic is dishes. We all have them, let's face it. Sometimes you have stragglers, maybe you got some for your wedding, 20 years later, you've got maybe 2 or 3 left that aren't broken. That's my case. Or maybe you got some from your grandma's cabinet, or you saw something cool in a thrift store or secondhand store and you thought, hey, that's a pretty dish, what could I do with that? So I just want to give you some ideas. Now, I'm not saying go out and use your expensive china or your expensive dishes for this, but there are some beautiful examples of porcelain, of ceramics. You know, the options are limitless. So just look and see what you've got. I want to show you some ideas for your home and your garden, ways to upcycle these beauties and use them for years and years to come. First, I wanted to show you a couple of ideas for indoors. You've probably seen versions of this. This is such an easy thing to do, and honestly, anybody can do this. I am a big fan of some of the epoxies and glues out there, and really, if you can get your hands on a good glue or epoxy, I have one that I use all the time. It's kind of my go-to. A lot of jewelers and crafters use this. You can find it at any of your big stores, your hardware stores. But read the label. You're going to want to find a glue or an adhesive or an epoxy that will work well on glass or on porcelain. That's really important because you're going to want to get a good seal. And since we're working with glass and porcelain, some of them have pretty good protective glossy coverings. You're going to want to rough it up a little bit, and I'll show you that. But basically, a little abrasive, a little, adhesive, and some dishes is all you're going to need for this. This is an example of a hand-painted cake plate, or a plate that I had that I turned into a pedestal plate. This is a great idea for parties, for showers. Get a bunch of different floral patterned plates and just go crazy, have them in different heights. And all I've done is taken a very inexpensive floral vase and turned it upside down, as you can see. And I've just epoxied my plate on top of it, and it becomes a really great pedestal plate, like a cake plate. Another idea for a serving dish, this is actually, I love this pattern, isn't this cool? I had a set of these. These are actually Dixie dogwood dishes from the 1950s, and I love them, but I had a few extras, and there were some little blemishes on them, so I didn't mind using them in this way. I had a lone depression glass salt and pepper shaker by itself with no cover, so I didn't mind using that, and a little sherbet cup too that I had. And again, I just epoxied these together. Believe it or not, it's okay. You can tell I still kind of cringe when I do that and want to hold my hand, but I use some great epoxy that I've never had any trouble with, and they will stay together. And again, you can mix and match and have a whole tablescape of these. I think that would be so much fun. One of my favorite things to do, though, is for the garden. I love to make bird feeders. A friend of mine from North Carolina sent me this this season. She knows I love this soda. I carry it in my shop, and so she had someone make an upcycled bird feeder out of a soda bottle and a couple plates. And now this person actually drilled through and used hardware, and you can do that. You're going to want to get yourself, for your drill, you're going to want to get yourself a diamond tip, specifically for glass and for porcelain, for ceramic. You're going to want to go really slow. But it can be done. I don't have that kind of patience. I love my good epoxies to use for a project like this, but it can be done. And the hardware store is such a great resource for all kinds of fits and findings. They've actually taken a rod and self-bent it and put some grooves on the bottom. They've used a couple of bolts and some washers, as you can see here on the top. Very easy breezy, just drilled it straight through and ta-da! cute bird feeder. I like to make the teacup bird feeders. Those are a lot of fun. I want to show you a couple ways you can do that. You're going to need a vase. If you want to just slip it over a garden stake, you're going to want a vase, some kind of saucer, cup, don't have to match, and then these are actually two from different sets, and then a little spoon. And again, I've epoxied these all together, and I've used an epoxy that is going to have some give to it. You know, if it gets a little cold outside, it can expand and contract. It's going to have a little bit of flexibility to it, something that's going to weather well in your garden. But this serves as a little bird perch, the spoon. And again, I just epoxied all of them together, and then you can just slip that over your garden stake and set it in your garden. It makes an adorable bird feeder. I've seen people actually put water in here, bird seed around the edge, or you could just put some bird seed in there, whichever way you'd like to do it. But you're going to want to take your cup and your saucer, just real quickly, you're going to want to rough it up a little bit. Use some steel wool, a little sandpaper, something like that, even something sharp tipped, and just scratch it up a little bit because you want that adhesive to really stick, okay? Then you're just going to adhesive one to the next. Take your vase, adhesive on the bottom, and there you go. You've got a bird feeder. You could also get some copper pipe if you want. On this one, I love to do this. I actually use some adhesive and put a little cap on it that I got at the hardware store. Pop it right on in the winter, pop it right off. The ideas are limitless on that. I hope you got some great ideas on how to use some of your miscellaneous dishes. If you have some ideas for our show and tell segment, we'd love to hear them. Be sure and contact us. We'll see you next time.